Oh, just has its regular cry. I was hoping that the chatter I recorded in Pokemon Platinum would go off. I don't know how that would work, but that was a cool feature. Remember that, guys? And then they had to remove it because it could cause problems in battling online. That's always a funny story. There was a tournament a long time ago where Chatot was banned and nothing else was banned. It's wacky to think about. But I'm getting sidetracked. Welcome to Pokemon Major Guardian Signs, Part 5 of the past missions walkthrough. I still didn't find a great name for it, but at least it's not a mouthful anymore. So we're gonna go to mission 5. It's another pretty simple mission. But she talks about switches, and that some switches need 2 people to operate. So if you don't have a friend to play with, too bad. You won't see everything else isn't there. You won't see everything that there is to see in this game. I think I said that correctly. There's only one mission where you're required to use this mission to move on, which is the special Deoxys mission. That's an optional mission. Not everyone is even going to have that. I mean, not like it's hard to get in the modern day, but yeah, it's worth pointing out. But I'll point the switches out when they go there. But there's another type of switch that you do have to step on, and we'll get there regular, but it's pretty simple to understand. But hence the name Pidgeotto and the switch path. And we have to capture 2 Pidgeottos for this one. And I'm breeding Chatot because flying this is pretty good here. We got another grass type boss. There's only one thing that resists flying, but it's not a huge deal. But the first thing you'll notice is when we go all the way up here, there's a switch. You gotta step on it for a certain amount of time and let the switch, before you can move across. Which in some cases is easier said than done. Sometimes Pokemon will just guard the switch, or they'll just attack you before you can stay on it. But here we have Shinx. Actually, capture this real quick. So this is the first example of patterns. Most missions have 4 patterns where different Pokemon appear, and time extensions and silent captures can be placed in different locations. This one only has 2 patterns though. This is pattern 2 because it has Shinx. Oh, and we have a Slate. Cool. If it was pattern 1, instead we would find Hoot Hoot. And this is a switch where something disappears, so it's an agitated Torchic, so we're gonna ignore that. Torchic doesn't drop its own Slate because it was in past mission where it's rule of thumb is if a Pokemon is required to complete a mission, it won't drop its Slate. So there's some Pokemon like that the program does not drop their own Slate. So there's another example. You have to stay the switch for a certain amount of time, and Pokemon can attack you. But yeah, like I mentioned, Shinx is on pattern 2, who is on pattern 1. So this is like it's a number randomly determined when you stop the mission. It determines what Pokemon appear. Shinx also can drop its own Slate or can drop Luxio. It's only a 3% for Luxio. Now, I've complained about 1%, but I've actually gotten Luxio before my main save, because I remember using Luxio against an Ice Temple boss that's a water type. It's actually a pretty hard assist to land, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth going for, but this is also the only electric assist you get until the Thunder Temple. And by that point, you don't even really need electric assist anymore. I don't know why they did it like that. Hoot Hoot, on the other hand, has a 7% chance to drop Noctowl, and I've used Noctowl before. It's actually not too bad. Here's the example of the 2-player switch. You stick on it and it doesn't do anything. What's behind it? You can see over there it's an Ivysaur. This is the only place Ivysaur shows up, but fret not, there is another way to get Ivysaur if you do not ever have a second player to play with. There's also a partner up, a power up, and a guard up behind it. So if you play 2 players, you can just totally trivialize this mission. Trivialize, I think is the word. This mission. I need to go Pidgeotto. It's hard to get all these words. I have so little time to talk about everything, and so it's really hard. But I actually did not explain all the power-ups, but it's speed up, guard up, power up, partner up. Power up just increases the amount of the friendship gauge. Basically, how much damage. It's not the official term, but I might as well say that when you draw loops. Actually, I can show them, even though it wastes time. Even though I can't get them, it's these weird things. I don't know what they are. They look like bunny ears, or is that just me? It looks like that the partner up too. But yeah, partner up also increases the amount of power your partner has, if that wasn't obvious. But yeah, those are the 4 power-ups. Partner up, power up, guard up, speed up. Should be pretty easy to figure out what those do. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I talked about patterns, the switches, and the 2-player switch. Yeah. The 2-player switch won't appear too often in everything. Every time it's optional, but there also sometimes it gates stuff that would be useful otherwise. Sceptile's pretty fast, but otherwise not too hard of a boss. Just like be careful of all these times that try to swipe at you. I'm focusing because I want to see if I can get an S rank, even though I wasted time for sure. Ooh, that took it out. Nice, nice. Shadow isn't bad. I think Knocked Owl does the same thing if you can get a hold of that. I think the only other place you can get Knocked Owl is a Thunder Temple, like the 4th temple. So grinding for the 7% is like not terrible, I think. I think I got it twice in one mission one time. I don't know if I have the picture of it because it was like over 10. It was over a decade, I think. But I actually managed to get an S rank on that one that time. Nice. If you S rank this, you get Pidgeotto. Unlike Pidgeys, this isn't the only way to get Pidgeotto, but it is the ideal way to get Pidgeotto. You can get it from Pidgeot in the next mission, but Pidgeot is a thing. I'll talk about it. If you A rank this mission, you get Turtwig. It's the only way to get Turtwig. And of course, there's a 10% chance for Sceptile. I didn't get any rare sites this time, but I wasn't really expecting it. Because I could have gotten Luxio at 3%, or Sceptile, but yeah, I'll definitely be using Pidgeotto next mission. Pidgeotto is pretty good. I can't remember if it's the Twisters or if it's the same thing as Pidgeot. Pidgeot is the assist that's actually really good. Yep, I think it's everything. So, without further ado, more story. Kira went to check on the temple. She should be back any minute. Arg! What can I do? What's wrong, Kira? Anything happened inside the temple? The temple now has new twists! I was trying to learn the path through it by heart, but it keeps changing! It must be so Magnus cannot get to the Force Captain. I believe this is a reference to the patterns I talked about, even though it didn't happen this mission, but... Because I don't think the layouts of the temples actually changed, so I wanted to point that out. I wanted to bring that up because it's a little misleading. They are aware of us and now are on the alert. The temple will be guarded more and more heavily. It'll be tough for Magnus alone to explore. Here's what I heard from another ranger recently. Wait, what? How is there another ranger? I mean, it already doesn't make sense that we can do this in multiplayer. We should be the only ranger in the past, but this is getting too convoluted, man. So now he explains something that you can't use by yourself. You gotta use it with a second player. But a use and capture is basically when you start at a point, other players will see where it started, and if they start their line where you started it, it becomes more powerful, and you can start drawing loops. I'll try to zoom on this so you can see this a little bit better. But there are definitely other instances we did it in multiplayer, of course. You want to be drawing circles in opposite directions, otherwise you'll keep drawing like these really jank ovals that won't do anything. But it increases the power you do, and also it makes it so that when a Pokemon attacks you, your line only gets interrupted if it touches your styler. Not your line, your styler. So you can use this to... I talked about this with avoiding hazards, but I didn't go into detail about how it's actually easier to avoid hazards, not only because you have a longer line, so you can draw bigger circles around stuff, but also because touching your line doesn't break your line. They actually have to touch your styler, basically wherever your stylus is. When you're actually drawing, or whatever you're using, like a pen or something, or hopefully not your finger. Don't do that with this game. Yeah, I already talked about all of this. And then it's explaining team capture, which admittedly in our multiplayer thing we have not even gotten down pat, and I don't think all 4 of us realize what to do. I pretty much I think I have it figured out, but like you have to keep your line in place and charge it. If you start it and then you move it too far, then you can't charge it. So everyone has to charge it, and then we have to go to one other charge line at a time. I can't explain it very well, but like this is something we're definitely gonna have to like practice and get down, because it's a very efficient technique. But you can only use team captures with 3 or 4 players, because you can only draw triangles and quadrilaterals. Sounds geeky, but I mean, that's what it is. They're not squares, they're not rectangles, they're not rhombuses. Quadrilaterals. Do I sound like a nerd for saying that? I hope not. Wait, what do I care about that? With the help of your friends. Right. I think the average person watching this doesn't have friends willing to play the games. I hope you have friends. I hope you're not lonely. Really, I mean that. No one deserves to be lonely. The Wise Woman should be able to explain these moves in detail anytime. She is the Wise Woman, after all. You should be able to enter the room of Thasios, the Forest Captain, once you've defeated the new tricks and traps. Good luck! And it's the final Forest Temple mission is going to be available. I actually didn't mention this, but yeah, the Wise One has a bunch of stuff, and I actually did not figure this out until recently. But she, like, basically has a glossary of stuff, and it's like this new thing, yeah, where you gotta view it once to make it go away, right? But I basically talked about all this. I'm not gonna go into detail about it too much. I'll just let the rest of these just be new, I guess. Oh, actually, there's a recap of the story, too. This is actually pretty useful, too, because, I mean, my main save file has been stuck on the story for so long now. Almost 15 years, jeez. No, I guess it's closer to 14, 13 years. I should know this. But yeah, if you need a refresh on the story, I guess. But that's that. Next time, ooh, this next mission is where things actually get a little tough. You probably will not beat the mission on your first try. But we'll get there when we get there, and there's gonna be a lot to go over because the patterns get ridiculous. I mentioned there were 2 patterns. This one, most missions have 4 patterns, but this next one actually has 5. It's one of the few that's like that. But I don't get ahead of myself too much. So next time we tackle the final Forest Temple mission, a Pokemon Forest in the Way. It might be a longer episode. See you guys next time. Over and out.